This therapy video features some of the important components of narrative therapy, or NT, specifically externalizing the problem, unique outcomes, and a focus on the distinct language that the client utilizes and brings to therapy. The client's name is Elan, and please pause the video to read his story. Narrative therapy provides a focus on the stories that clients bring to counseling. The dominant discourse tends to be the overarching narrative that may involve problematic symptoms such as anxiety or depression, and the alternate discourse is the preferred story that the client and therapist cultivate throughout the therapy process. An example of a dominant discourse is the one that you just read about Elan's life and current circumstances. Unique outcomes are the exceptions or times when the problem was not a problem, and they can help generate hope and new behaviors for clients. The client's language and verbal presentation is a key component that therapists zero in on as part of the NT model. In this session, we'll focus on externalizing the problem, which involves giving the problem a name and objectifying it so that the client can more clearly understand its impact on current functioning. In Elan's case, the problem is named extreme guilt, and this image illustrates how Elan might see this problem as a separate entity outside of himself. Now, we'll also discuss unique outcomes mentioned earlier and also be aware of Elan's language as a Native American, how that shapes who he is, and how it may shape his emotional healing over time. Now, because of the death that Elan has recently experienced, we will assume that he is attending additional therapy at this time, specifically group counseling for bereavement. The session begins after he has told his story and brought his experiences to light. What I find it helpful to do is to think of a problem almost like it's a third person, okay, like it's an object. And let me explain that further, is that you have mentioned these words, extreme guilt. You've kind of said it over and over and how much of a role it's playing in your life. I'm wondering if it would be possible that we could actually make this extreme guilt to be something that's like a third party, that we could think of it as if it was another person. Instead of 2 people in the room, there's 3 people in the room now. Would you be willing to look at that a little bit?
Yeah.
So if we name this problem extreme guilt, I want you to try something. I want you to try to start thinking of this problem, this extreme guilt, kind of like it's somebody else or it's something else in the room that has an impact or some kind of control over you. Okay, does that make sense?
Maybe like a spirit.
Okay.
Yeah, like a dark spirit.
Tell me more about that.
Well, my grandfather used to tell us stories about these dark spirits that would haunt us anytime we felt feelings of that were not joy, were not peace, maybe like anger or bitterness or rage. These dark spirits would come upon and feed upon these feelings that we had, and maybe this is what he's talking about with the guilt. Maybe it's this dark spirit that's looming over me and it's just not letting go.
Okay, Elan, I want you to start talking about this extreme guilt like it's in the third person. Talk about what it's doing to you. As opposed to it being something inside of you, talk about it actually being something apart from you and see how that feels. It's almost like you're trying that on. And let's see where that goes.
You mean like giving this dark spirit a name, like guilt? Extreme guilt?
And tell me what the extreme guilt is doing in your life.
I mean, sometimes I feel like this thing is jumping up and down on my chest, just making me feel like I'm suffocating, like I can't breathe because I feel so much guilt for my best friend dying.
So extreme guilt has a lot of physical
Yes.
properties.
Yes.
It's very strong.
Yes.
Extreme guilt is very strong.
Yes.
Tell me something more about extreme guilt.
It won't go away, this extreme guilt. You know, my sister has been trying to talk to me and trying to help me make peace with Johnny's death, but this extreme guilt is like sitting there with, it just makes me shut her away. It's almost like this extreme guilt like comes in between my sister and I, where it's like this cloud or this wall that doesn't allow my sister to try to help me with getting through this. And I've been pushing her away, and I think this extreme guilt may be part of it.
So as you're telling me, this extreme guilt causes you to build walls between
Yes.
yourself and others, especially your sister.
Yes, especially my sister. My mom has been trying to help me too, but especially my sister. Yes, yes.
So as we've kind of taken a few minutes for this exercise, you've kind of seen how much incredible power extreme guilt has had over your life.
I want this extreme guilt to go away.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe put it in a trash can or put it in a manhole and just put it down under the street.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want this thing around anymore.
So your goal is to really make the extreme guilt go away, to
Yeah.
make it, if it can't go away entirely, at least maybe that it would relinquish some of its hold over you.
Yeah, some of its hold is like strangling me.
Okay.
Yeah. Getting rid of it. Getting rid of the noose.
Okay. So we want to kind of look at ways that we can kind of disempower this extreme guilt. And when I think of this word, how we would disempower the extreme guilt, we want to kind of utilize things that have worked for you when you feel problems or anxiety or depression. How do you, what are things that have helped and worked for you in the past in overcoming them?
Well, I mean, I drink. I turn to alcohol. That helps me escape the pain and numb the pain. I drink. I play basketball.
Okay.
I play basketball. That helps. That helps get it out too. And sometimes I write. Sometimes I write down maybe what I'm thinking, or sometimes I just write about my day. Just put some words on paper. Sometimes I make a song, but yeah.
So some of the things that have worked for you, what may be helpful, because I know the drinking has been very problematic to you, but I'm thinking that the basketball has worked for you. I'm thinking that writing and even songwriting has been very, very, very helpful as well. And I say this because we want to start looking at ways that the extreme guilt would not be so powerful in your life. Okay, that maybe we could say something like, well, even though Elan was feeling extreme guilt, he was able to play basketball and compete in a full game. Or despite the extreme guilt and the pressure, he was able to write down his thoughts, his complete thoughts about how he was feeling. So that's my idea as we look towards the next few weeks about some things that I would like you to do at home and to get familiar with. When you're writing, is to consider it extreme guilt. That was the term that we've used over and over again, so that we would think of it as that third party and think about the role that it's playing in your life. And my thought is, by doing this over time, we can kind of look at this problem in a different way. Over the next few weeks of therapy, Elan practices externalizing the extreme guilt he experiences. He engages in journaling and songwriting to help him do this, and also plays basketball and spends time with his sister to help him cope. Throughout this time, he also takes advantage of bereavement therapy in his counseling group. Now, we check in on Elan to see how he has utilized what he learned in therapy and in his interactions with others.
Think about that extreme guilt as coming from the outside. That really helped. That really helped. I told you about my grandfather and how he said there's dark spirits that kind of haunt us when we have these really bad feelings. And I was writing a song, and I was writing this song. I was watching the TV, and the TV had some cartoons on, and I thought, hey, wait a minute. Does this thing really have to be a dark spirit, or can it just be something like a cartoon character? And I started writing about it in my song, and I started laughing, because it doesn't have to be this dark spirit. It could just be something lighter, guilt is very extreme, but it doesn't have to have a stranglehold on me. It can be this little cartoon character that maybe is easier to deal with than this dark spirit. Does that make sense?
So when this extreme guilt comes along, if you can kind of really visualize it almost as a cartoon character, it just doesn't have the power.
No.
So how is you came in with a really bleak story a while back, and how has your story changed, since then? How would you, if you looked at it and you think of the path of one story to another, how has that changed, since you told the story the last time? What's changed?
Well, I was really feeling guilty when I first came in here. I wouldn't even get out of bed just to come to this counseling and also the group that my mom signed me up for. But since then, I've played some basketball with my friends, and I've written some more lyrics to some songs, and I've also had some fun with my sister, just goofing around and cooking some meals with my mom. And then I've been able to go back to work too, and that just getting out of the house has helped. So that's made a difference. Do I still feel guilty? There's still guilt there. There's sadness there, but I'm not so guilty that I won't even get out of bed.